Why is it that the moment you tell a woman the truth, she loses her mind? Not the polite version, not the fake, keep the peace truth. I mean the real truth, the one that slices through fantasy and exposes reality. You've seen it. One honest sentence, and suddenly it's tears, screaming, silent treatment. You become the villain, the monster who doesn't love her anymore. But when you lie, when you say what she wants to hear, she lights up. You're suddenly the perfect boyfriend, the caring husband, the same man, different words, yet one truth detonates chaos while the other buys peace. Why? Because modern women don't crave truth. They crave emotional protection. They don't want reality. They want a mirror that reflects the version of themselves they wish were real. Every man knows this test. Does this dress make me look fat? It's not a question. It's a trap. She already knows the answer. She stared at herself in the mirror for 20 minutes before asking. What she's really asking is, will you betray your own eyes for my comfort? If you lie, she knows it, but that's not the point. The point is that you lied for her. You chose her feelings over your truth. That's the real validation, not that she looks good, but that you're willing to sacrifice honesty on the altar of her emotions. And that, right there, is where the modern relationship starts to rot. Because the moment you lie to protect her feelings, you teach her that truth is negotiable. You teach her that emotional manipulation works. You teach her that your reality can be bent, as long as she cries hard enough. This is the hidden dynamic most men never see until it's too late. It starts small, one harmless white lie to keep the peace, then another, until you're trapped in a web of comfort and dishonesty, wondering when you stopped being a man who speaks truth and became a man who survives by silence. Modern women claim they want honesty, but what they really want is obedience disguised as love. And if you refuse to play that game, if you dare to speak truth into their illusion, they call it cruelty. They call it emotional abuse, but it's not abuse, it's resistance. And resistance is the one thing modern relationships can't handle anymore. Every man eventually discovers this unspoken rule. Truth is punished, lies are rewarded. Not because women consciously design it that way, but because our entire modern culture has trained them to equate comfort with love. The moment truth becomes uncomfortable, it becomes dangerous. And in relationships, that danger kills attraction faster than anything else. We live in what you could call the female delusion economy, a psychological marketplace where men are expected to fund women's emotional realities with lies. Every white lie you tell to keep the peace is like depositing emotional currency into that system. You tell her she looks beautiful when she hasn't cared for herself in years. You say her new business idea is great when you know it's a financial black hole. You reassure her that everything's fine when the house is metaphorically on fire. Each lie buys temporary calm but long-term decay. The reason this economy thrives is simple. Modern women have been indoctrinated to believe feelings equal truth. Society tells them, you're perfect just as you are. Never let anyone judge you. If he really loves you, he'll accept everything about you. Those are comforting lies, and men are pressured to reinforce them every single day. Tell the truth, and you're cruel. Tell a lie, and you're kind. That's how the delusion grows. Philosophers like Ayn Rand and Nietzsche warned about this inversion of values when protecting illusions replaces pursuit of truth. Rand called it moral corruption disguised as compassion. Nietzsche called it the triumph of the weak over the strong, when reality must be softened so no one feels pain. That's where we are now, a culture where men are expected to suppress their own perception to preserve female comfort, where women are no longer asked to grow, only to be endlessly validated. But here's the hidden cost. Every time a man lies to protect her feelings, he trains himself to betray his own reality. He loses confidence in his own eyes. He starts to second-guess what he knows to be true. And before long, he's not living in truth or love. He's living in her emotional simulation. He becomes a caretaker of illusion, not a partner in truth. Women say they want authentic men, but what they actually reward is compliance. They'll post memes about honesty and then punish it viciously when it hurts their ego. That contradiction keeps the delusion economy alive, and most men, out of fear, guilt, or conditioning, keep paying the price. Here's the paradox. The more you protect her from truth, the more she resents you, because deep down, every woman knows when you're lying. And no matter what she says, she can't respect a man who fears her emotions more than he respects reality. The female delusion economy only survives as long as men keep financing it. Withdraw your honesty, and her illusion collapses. Withdraw your lies, and your integrity returns. Every man who's been in a relationship long enough knows this pattern. The trap question. It looks innocent. Do you think she's pretty? Would you still love me if I gained weight? If I died, would you remarry? But these aren't questions. They're psychological stress tests designed not to reveal truth, but loyalty. Women don't ask these because they want information. They ask because they want reassurance disguised as risk. When she asks, "Do you think my friend Sarah is attractive?" she's not curious about your taste. She's probing for emotional obedience. The correct answer isn't whatever you truly believe. It's whatever keeps her feelings safe. In that moment, she's not testing your honesty. She's testing your submission. This is what I call emotional conditioning, the process of training men to lie through reward and punishment. You tell the truth, she cries, screams, or shuts down for 3 days. You tell a lie, she smiles, kisses you, and says, "You're such a good man." That's how the system programs you. Over time, you stop being a man who speaks from truth. You become a man who anticipates emotional explosions. You don't communicate, you calculate. You don't express, you perform. And once you've learned that truth equals pain, your authenticity becomes the casualty. You start lying before she even asks. You become fluent in the art of strategic silence. Never too honest, never too real, always managing perception. But here's the dark twist. The more compliant you become, the more she resents you, because deep down, even she knows she's creating the very cowardice she despises. Carl Jung called this dynamic projection, when a person disowns their inner conflict and tries to control it in others. A woman terrified of her own insecurities will try to make you responsible for managing them. She'll say, "You made me feel this way," when in truth her feelings existed long before you spoke. The emotional minefields she creates are reflections of her own inner chaos, projected outward and disguised as your fault. Every trap question, every meltdown, every manipulation, it's all about one thing: control through emotion. The ability to make a grown man doubt his own perception of reality. Because once you doubt yourself, she owns you. She becomes the authority on what's right, kind, or supportive. And you become the student who must constantly prove you're a good man. That's not love. That's psychological subjugation. The tragic part. Most men never rebel. They tell themselves it's compassion, maturity, or being emotionally intelligent. But it's not. It's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being labeled cruel. The same fear that turns men into emotional hostages in their own homes. Here's the truth. A man who can't say no without guilt will eventually say yes to everything that destroys him. And a woman who punishes honesty, teaches him to lie, then hates him for becoming a liar. Break the cycle. Recognize the game. The only way to win a rigged test is to stop playing it. That's where most modern men end up. Not because they've got nothing to say, but because they've learned it's safer to say nothing at all. It doesn't start that way. Every man begins by wanting to be honest, to build a relationship based on truth, not performance. But over time, he notices the pattern. Every truth he tells becomes a future weapon. Every confession becomes ammunition. Every word that exposes his inner world gets twisted, thrown back, and used against him later. So he adapts. He shuts down. Not because he's cold, but because the cost of honesty has become unbearable. A man once told me, "The first time I was honest, she cried. The second time, she yelled. The third time, she left. After that, I stopped talking." That's how emotional conditioning works. You don't silence men by force. You silence them through punishment. And once punished enough times, a man learns that truth equals chaos and silence equals peace. The world calls this emotional unavailability. But it's not unavailability, it's survival. Men retreat inward not because they lack emotional depth, but because they've been taught that vulnerability in the wrong environment is suicide. The modern relationship for too many men has become a minefield where truth is the enemy. Jung once wrote, "What you resist persists." And women who resist uncomfortable truths end up creating exactly what they fear. Distant, guarded, emotionally numb men. They complain that their husbands don't open up, yet punish them the moment they do. They claim they want connection, yet weaponize intimacy the second it challenges their comfort. That's not love. That's emotional tyranny. The silent man you see today, the one who nods, agrees, and avoids conflict, is not weak by nature. He's been trained into submission, trained by mothers who cried until he apologized, by girlfriends who equated boundaries with cruelty, by wives who redefined support as agreement. He's not heartless. He's exhausted. He's learned that in a world ruled by emotional manipulation, honesty is rebellion and silence is armor. And yet that silence destroys him, because when a man stops speaking his truth, he stops living it. He loses his edge, his clarity, his conviction. He becomes a shadow of himself, agreeable, polite, and dying quietly inside. That's why relationships collapse, not from lack of love, but from lack of truth space. Two people can live together for decades, sleep in the same bed, share the same meals, yet never truly meet, because the real meeting, the meeting of truth, never happens. A relationship built on silence isn't peace. It's slow emotional death. The antidote isn't endless communication, as the books preach. It's honesty with consequence. A man must be willing to speak truth and endure the storm it brings. Because without truth, there is no intimacy, only performance. There comes a point when a man looks around and realizes he's been living someone else's script. Every answer rehearsed, every opinion trimmed down so it doesn't offend, every yes spoken to avoid another explosion, and one day he feels the weight of it, the dull ache of a soul that's been domesticated. That's when the awakening begins. A man cannot stay silent forever. Something inside him, the ancient spark that built civilizations, starts to revolt. It's the voice that whispers, "Enough. Enough pretending. Enough walking on eggshells. Enough apologizing for seeing the world clearly." Because a man who abandons truth to keep peace will never know peace at all. When he finally decides to speak again, it's not arrogance, it's reclamation. He's reclaiming his integrity, reclaiming his masculine authority over his own perception. He's not trying to dominate anyone. He's simply refusing to live inside another person's illusion. And that refusal to a world built on comfort and deception looks like rebellion. Make no mistake, telling the truth will cost you. It may cost you relationships built on lies. It may cost you comfort, approval, even love. But it will buy you something infinitely greater: self-respect. Every man who's ever walked the path of authenticity knows freedom is expensive and worth every scar it leaves behind. Carl Jung once said, "A lie would make me feel inferior to myself." That's the core of masculine suffering today. Millions of men living inferior to themselves, worshipping peace at the altar of self-betrayal. The real revolution isn't against women or society or culture. It's against the part of you that settled for silence. When you start speaking truth, the world around you reorganizes. Some people disappear. They were only there for the illusion. Others rise to meet you, drawn to your clarity like fire. The feminine rooted in maturity won't fear your honesty. She'll respect it. She won't demand you dim your light. She'll want to stand in it. That's the difference between a woman and a girl. One wants protection from truth. The other finds safety in truth. So tell it. Tell it calmly, without cruelty, without apology. The point isn't to wound, it's to stop living wounded. The world doesn't need more agreeable men. It needs truthful men who can stay grounded in the storm their truth creates. That's what leadership actually is, the courage to face chaos and remain unmoved. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop lying to make her comfortable, she may lose her mind. But she'll finally meet your soul. And whether she stays or goes, you'll know you're finally standing on solid ground. Living in truth might cost you peace in the short term, but it will buy you back your power. And once a man reclaims that, no delusion can own him again. Here's the hard truth most men eventually face. You cannot build love on illusion. You can build comfort. You can build convenience. You can even build a long, quiet, polite coexistence. But you can't build connection, not real, soul-level connection, on lies. Modern relationships are collapsing because people would rather feel safe than seen. They want validation, not growth. They want a mirror that flatters, not a reflection that reveals. But the truth always wins in the end. It leaks through the cracks. It shows up in resentment, in boredom, in that haunting feeling of being alone together. That's the ghost of suppressed honesty. When a man chooses truth, he breaks that spell. He reintroduces reality into the fantasy. Yes, it creates conflict. Yes, it might shake the relationship to its core. But what emerges on the other side is something real, or nothing at all. And either outcome is liberation. See, truth doesn't destroy love. It destroys false love. It kills what was never built to last. The moment you stop performing, you discover who's truly with you and who was only with your mask. The woman who can handle your truth will rise in respect. The one who can't will recoil. Either way, you win because you've reclaimed the one thing modern men have been taught to surrender, their voice. And that's what this whole message is about. You were not born to be a peacekeeper. You were not born to live small, to tiptoe around emotions like a prisoner afraid of his own shadow. You were born to stand in truth, calm, grounded, unshakable. That doesn't mean being cruel, loud, or cold. It means being real. It means speaking what you see and standing by it even when the world shakes around you. Because when you stand in truth, everything false falls away. The weak relationships collapse, the fake friends disappear, and what remains are the ones who can meet you in reality. That's freedom, that's power, that's peace earned through courage. So, if you've ever felt trapped in silence, if you've ever swallowed your truth just to keep someone comfortable, remember this: peace built on lies is war postponed. And every time you choose honesty over comfort, you take one step closer to becoming the man you were always meant to be. You want to fix modern relationships? Start with truth. Not your truth, not her truth, the truth. And once you find it, live by it, even if it costs you everything. Because a man who tells the truth may lose people, but a man who lies loses himself. If this hit home, like and share the video with another brother who needs to hear it. Subscribe and support the mission using the link in the description below.